Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Trader Merlin Show for your weekend edition. It's Pi Day today. Oh, our microphone's just right in the picture there. Hold on, I'm going to do something. Just get rid of that picture. Hold on a second. It is Pi Day today, which means 3.14. I had to throw the Super Pi shirt on today, so for those you got it there. I have a pirate shirt as well, but I like the Super Pi one. Anyway, happy Friday. A great day. It was. I'm very happy the way that Friday turned out. You know, it's been kind of a rough week. Certainly on my positions did okay, but I was really anticipating there being a bounce, and it seems like every time we tried to get a bounce, it just got crushed. And today, on that first retest, so you have, I don't know if you guys know what there's like a first reversal in the market, and it's kind of this, it doesn't always happen, but there's this high probability that about 30 minutes into the trading day, the market shifts direction. And a lot of the belief is that has to do with institutional order flow being processed. They kind of step out of the way for, 15 to 30 minutes, let all those market orders come in and push the price one direction or the other, and then they come in and push it back the other way. So, hey, Tony, good to see you. We had a great couple of, I'll show you the setups here today. So there's a couple of really cool reversal periods that happened today. I didn't get the first one, but I did take the second one, which ended up being a great trade as well. So let's break this up into a 5-minute time frame here. And here is today's trading. So, you look at the big surge we had early this morning. This is the S&P 500. We opened up, had a nice pop up, and then came right back down. I caught the retest of the open, and did so with a couple contracts, pulled a nice chunk out of the market. So it was a good day from the futures perspective. But before I scroll out, I want to just put a line right across the top here, because this is definitely something I usually would have traded, but I was preoccupied this morning at 7 o'clock. I put a red horizontal line there, and if we zoom out a little bit, you notice that is right into one of the pre-market highs that we haven't broken yet. So this would have been a very logical point for me to expect there to be a rebound, or at least a sell-off from that point. And today just hit it to the T, closed it, then came back down and was a fantastic rip all day. So very happy the way things turned out, especially for some of my positions, which I'll talk about here as we progress today. But let's dive through it one by one. Oh, by the way, let me take a step back. I know I'm jumping the gun here. But cheers. Notice my mug is slightly different today. Still suffering from this cold, so no whiskey today. It's hot cinnamon and something tea with some honey in it to help my throat, which hopefully will not go out on you guys today. So cheers to you all. Again, I would love to have a glass of whiskey with you, but we're going to go all dry weekend, make myself better. All right, so let's go into the big stuff. So obviously inflation was your big talk point today. I'm still kind of shocked, honestly, at the way the market reacted. You look at those previous 2 days. We'll look here on when CPI number came out. That was on Wednesday, came out before market, and markets were responding rather positively, right? Had a long, big green candle, and all of a sudden, end of the day, not that exciting. Then yesterday, you had this epic PPI number come out. I mean, that was a number that I thought would have just vaulted these markets much, much, much higher, and we ended up just selling off all day. This one hurt me. Took some losses yesterday, but made up for it all today. I was waiting for this bounce today, so I positioned myself accordingly, and as we got that momentum, it turned out to be a great Friday, which certainly is something I was happy to see. By the end of the week, if we go Friday to Friday, we're still down 2.39% for the S&P, but let's keep in mind that at one point, we were down 4.5%. That's a pretty significant drop for 1 week. I mean, it's averaging 1% a day to the downside, luckily only finishing down about 2% for the week. So that was the big stuff for me. And I do have a chart of the week. I know I started, I would like to do this more often, where I was having a chart that's somewhat sensational. I need to do a chart of the day, but my graphic still says chart of the week. So we had one yesterday. Here is the one for today. This is an interesting chart that I saw today. This is from the University of Michigan, who puts together tons and tons of reports and studies, and it's inflation expectations for the next 5 to 10 years. And you notice the huge surge over the past, just say a couple months. I mean, just a gigantic spike up there in inflation expectations for the next 5 years. Now, look, 5 years? Who knows what the heck can happen in 5 years? I mean, incredibly volatile, could be all over the place, but it seems like in general, people are really expecting inflation to be higher and higher and higher. Now, I am definitely one of those contrarians. When someone says look left, I'm thinking look right. And I'm in the camp of I do see higher inflation going forward. I think more inflation is on the horizon yet. every person is saying there's inflation on the horizon. When everybody's thinking inflation's on the horizon, I'm just trying to come up with arguments as to why we would not have inflation. Why might this be deflationary for the market? So that's where I'm at right now. Is my mind today was just kind of running wild, trying to figure out what would cause deflation as opposed to an inflationary environment with the data coming out right now. So I have one idea, and I think that the one idea that could be the piece that brings it out or brings it down and causes it to go somewhat deflationary is just overall economic growth stalling and grinding to a halt. And that could happen, right? If we all of a sudden our exports decline significantly, that hurts domestic production. That could hurt GDP. The Atlanta Fed has already said negative 2.8%. So, interesting chart to see everyone's expectations much higher for inflation. I'm still in that camp of higher inflation, but I'm trying to come up with arguments as to why we may see markets sell off and see some deflationary pressure here. So, other stuff, the tariff war, no big deal. We talked about that yesterday. This will continue on and keep going and going and going. We had gold at all-time highs again. So this time we finally did break that 3,000 mark. And conveniently, we have one of my favorite patterns here, shooting star. Here's your gold futures. Let me add up some volume here. Volume not climactic, normal volume for gold futures. So that you can take that little extra exclamation point off the table. But right now you got this nice shooting star. That's the 3,000 mark there in red. I'll put another one down below it, and I'm going to change that color just so we can make it easier for us to see. We'll go style, change that color to blue or purple, whatever color this is. That's the low of today's candle. So keep your eye, if you're trading Sunday night, if you get an open above this blue line, which is 2,988, opens up above that and then starts to sell off, I think there might be a nice little pullback here in gold. Again, I am long-term very bullish on gold, so I do not think that this is the end by any means for gold. I just think it's due for a pullback. I mean, gold had a pretty significant run from these lows back here on February 28th to where we closed at today. 5.25% in 10 days. That's pretty good. 2 weeks, it's up 5%. So I do anticipate a little bit of a correction. Maybe we get back down into the 29.10, 29.20 area mark and then continue this trend back to the upside. So an opportunity there for some of you contrarians. And I did get a message from someone asking, should we be looking at shorting this market for gold? And I'm like, oh man, shorting the market for gold is kind of like, for me, is like shorting Bitcoin. I just don't want to do it. I feel like there's the probability is much higher for more upside potential here than downside. So I'll stick with my call on not going to short it, but I do think that you could get a buying opportunity here soon if it does have a little bit of a pullback. All right, let's see. Let me go back to the gold all-time highs. I'll cover the government shutdown. So still up in the air. I think Schumer's backpedaling. It looks like we'll get a stopgap passed, and we'll kick that can further down the road. So like we mentioned on yesterday's show, no big deal here. I do think that the government shutdown will be a non-event. It's just going to be a lot of posturing and political stuff, but I think we're okay there. Let's see. Kenny says, on the road, gold to 3,000. I do agree. However, let's be realistic. This is not something that's going to just happen in a short period of time. So let me go out and show you let's do a monthly time frame here for gold. And you can see that it has taken us, and this has been an incredibly strong move, right? It took a year to move up $1,000 per ounce in gold. Back here as well, let's say we go from when it moved up $1,000, from 1,000 to 2,000, that took 96 months. So sure, I do think it's on the road there. And what I do find interesting is the escalation here on how quick it's been moving up from 1,000 to 2,000 and 2,000 to 3,000. It certainly has picked up some speed, but as you guys know, my belief on market movements, typically when you have a really extended, strong, almost parabolic move, it can't sustain that kind of run for much longer, right? I do think you'll see some pullbacks here, which will give you some buying opportunities, but the trend is your friend till the bend at the end. And when you have a scarce commodity like gold, typically that trend will continue to go up over time, particularly if that commodity has utility, in this case gold, used for a lot of different purposes. So yes, I do think we will get more upside move in gold long term, but for the short term, I actually think you're going to see a pullback this week. I think next week will be a melt up. I think you get to change your word there, JV. JB says a melt up. You mean, since we're talking about gold, I think it should be a smelt up with an S in there, right? Smelting process for, I think there is smelting for gold as well. All right. So let me walk you through a few of the things that happened for me this week. You guys know I had a few trades open. I am disappointed about one of them and one only. Today was a great day for pretty much everything in my account, or in this account that I'm sharing with you guys, SMCI. So I had the $40 strikes. We closed at 42. Great. So I collected like 3% last week. I collected another 3% this week. So, I'll take 6% for 2 weeks, and selling right at the same price that I bought it at. So fantastic. Happy with the way SMCI worked out. We had Nvidia. So Nvidia, I had the 115 strikes. Obviously, wish that I held it. And this is the only one that I really regret. So I was put the 115 share price on last Friday. Sold the 115 calls against it just to kind of get my position back to normal. Collected some great premium, but I want to own Nvidia. I want to be long here. And part of the reason I want to own Nvidia is you've got this technology conference happening next week. It's a big one. And this is, I will be watching this event. I'll watch the whole thing. And the event last time was where Jensen Huang released the Rockwell chip and really did a good job of explaining the industry and how it's innovating, right? What is the role of a GPU compared to a CPU, and what does this technology mean for not just computers, but life in general going forward, whether that's robotics, speed, energy consumption, etc. So there's a new Rockwell chip coming out, and another, I think it's called, not Rivian, Respire, something like that. Talking about a new technology that they're looking at that might make this Rockwell chip even faster or maybe even obsolete based off new technology. So this could be something that, in my opinion, is probably going to have a positive impact on Nvidia, especially after you've had such a significant decline in Nvidia. Let's go look at from its all-time highs here back in January 7th, to where we are today. We are currently down exactly 20%. That's big, right? That's a big one. At one point, we were down 31% on Nvidia. I mean, that's a significant decline for someone who is an absolute monster in the industry. Now, granted, is their PE ratio pretty high? Yes, their PE ratio is pretty high, but they're making tons of money and they're still the dominant player. So my shares got taken away at 115. Technician JD says, when is that? It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I believe. It's a 3-day thing. And I haven't looked at the schedule to see when Jensen will be doing his keynote. My guess is it will be the 3rd day. Maybe he does an opening thing. I'm not sure, but typically he's like the big, big keynote. Obviously, the one that I want to be watching will be Jensen. So I'm not sure. I'll let you guys know on Monday's show exactly what the schedule looks like. You can probably check it out. It's called GTC Day. I think it's it's GPU Technology Conference or something. I think that's what it's called, the GPU Technology Conference. And I think it's going to be a plus for Nvidia. Now, what I don't remember when the last one was. It would be kind of curious to go back and see. Maybe it was around the same time last year. Maybe it was March. Go back and see what happened last time they did their conference and what the reaction was from the market. Then got SPY puts over the weekend. No, well, don't worry. Nvidia is not going to be the piece that makes or breaks the market. Just remember, a lot of these FANG stocks, guys. I'll go look at the Magnificent Seven here. A lot of these have been just absolutely decimated. I mean, Tesla, even though it's up 3.8% today, slaughtered. I mean, just getting crushed. You had Nvidia, big downs. Microsoft, even huge downs. Meta, big pullback off the highs. Google, and again, we've talked about these are the pieces that dragged our markets up and gave us amazing returns. And of course, they're a big part of the recent declines, but these still are the same companies. These still are absolute monsters in what they're doing with regards to earnings and market dominance. So, in my opinion, you're buying them at a discount right now if you're loading up on some of these ones here. It was kind of funny. I saw a friend's post yesterday, and she, of course, you have one set of the population that hates Trump and everything he stands for, no matter what he does, and you have another side that loves Trump and will support him no matter what he does. Right? It feels like there's very little middle ground there. And this one friend of mine, she is on the despises Trump at all costs camp, and she posted that this is the worst decline in the markets. It's absolute history. It's the worst in history. We're going into a depression. This is the end. And I'm like, calm down. Slow your roll. And it's funny because people kept responding in her chat saying on how I didn't work 48 years of my life to have all my money just destroyed like this. He's ruining the world. It's like, hold on a second, people. For those people who are complaining and freaking out that we were down 10%. We're no longer down 10%, but we were. Let's not forget where we came from. If you look at the market gain since 2009, I'll put this on a weekly time frame here. This is the biggest bull market we've ever seen. And I'll just kind of get close. This isn't the exact numbers, but it's pretty darn close to where we were. Let's go to all-time highs, roughly there. That's 812%. So the market's moved up 812%, and people are like, this is the end. We're down 10%. The humanity. Make it stop. Come on, man. You've got to look at your 401k and be like, thank God we've had this market. I mean, if you've been invested fully in your 401k since 2009, you should be really close to being able to retire. And I was just kind of laughing at him. I respect everyone's opinion, but you can't catastrophize something like this. Like, if you're that freaked out, and let's say you are in that camp that thinks that, he's evil and he's trying to tank the market and he's trying to steal your money and Elon Musk is trying to take your social security numbers and steal from you, then go to cash. Just don't freak out. Just go to cash, right? You'll be safe that way. Go to cash. Oh, sorry, guys. It just drives me nuts. And again, I'm not a pro-Trumper. I'm not an anti-Trumper. I try to stay in the middle of the ground. It's just markets. Markets are going to do what they can do, and we're just here to make the most of it. So don't freak out. Even if it got down 20%, I don't think that's a freak out moment. I think that's one of those moments where you say, okay, what opportunities are in front of me from a trading perspective, right? You can hear my cold in my voice. Yeah, it's there. It's there, Margaret. It just means I need to take another sip of my honey tea over here. So, again, I think that we have some great buying opportunities out there. Even though we've had a bounce in the Magnificent Seven, I still think there's some good deals to be had. So I'll walk you through the Nvidia. What else did I have? I have, Tesla. So I had Tesla at the 210 puts. That obviously expired. I wanted to sell some more today, but I'm going to wait and see what happens on Monday. Part of me thinks we're going to get a big gap up in crypto and digital assets on Monday. I think we'll get to there in just a second. But the other part of me, I do think you're going to see more follow through from the equity market. So I'm just kind of waiting. Didn't want to jump the gun here, so I'll wait until Monday. But I definitely wanted to sell more puts on Tesla and collect some premium there. Maybe even just buy some and sell covered calls against it right away, outright, just to have some exposure to it, because I do think Tesla's going to have a nice little rebound here. I did sell some more puts on Nvidia. So I sold the 112s today, which is just below where we rocketed over the last 3 days. But I sold the 112s. We'll see next week. I may add to that and sell some more. I did sell quite a few this time. Last time I didn't sell a ton, but all right, before I ruffle the feathers of some of the viewers out there, let's see what you guys had to say. They're really going to be mad when we're down 20%, and I think it's coming. Steve, it might. Again, I don't know. I could sit here and I could give you guys strong arguments for a bullish market. I give you strong arguments for a bearish market. It's kind of like playing mainstream media. It just depends on what the objective of that agency is. If you want to stay to the left, then you push these stories. You want to stay to the right, you push these stories. Look, I'll stay in the middle here and go both ways. I do think, personally, I think inflation is going to be higher. You guys know that. I do think that growth is going to be slowing, and I think the uncertainty of the tariff should push these markets lower. The implementation of the tariff should push them even lower. So I agree with you. I do think we'll see the overall trend here to the downside. Go back to the S&P. I think that this is a bit too much of an aggressive down move. I've already mentioned this before. I do think we're going to bounce back up to this overhead supply right around 57.25, 57.50, somewhere in there. And I think we'll probably from that point start a more logical move, a more evenly paced move, not at the same acceleration. So maybe it looks something like this. If we're going to put that line on there, maybe it does something like that, which would be much more a calm, just, I guess, consistent selling pressure as opposed to what feels like panic selling, right? This move we've had for the past 3 weeks is just panic, right? One way you can measure that is go out to your VIX here, which you saw the VIX spiked, but it has already come back down. So I think that the fear is subsiding, even though it still is ugly on that chart. VIX is telling us that there's not as much put buying, meaning people are looking at going long right now. So that leads me to believe that we'll get a little bit of a bounce here, but that's just what the charts are saying. And again, I'm at the mercy of whatever this chart tells me to do. So what I don't like about the S&P, and this goes back to our Magnificent Seven, is the S&P is not in a demand zone. It hasn't come in anywhere where you'd say, oh, this is a logical bounce point. And again, markets don't have to do that, right? Markets do not have to always be at a supply or demand zone. Sometimes a demand zone will form out of thin air, really, as institutions come in and say, enough is enough, I'm going to start buying here. So, all right. Liz says, anyone who puts any money in the market needs to understand they are taking the risk. It's up. Yep, totally agree. And we can't point the finger at anybody else, right? You know, when I make my trade, like I did on the trade desk, and I get walloped on that one, who am I going to point at? Am I going to point it at Larry because Larry said he had good fundamentals? No. It was my decision to make that trade. So no one else will ever be to blame except me on my trades. And that's the way it should be, right? I think when you blame yourself, you'll hold yourself more accountable on all the trades you make, and then you'll probably resort to doing more due diligence and practicing good risk management. Let's see. John G's in cash right now. Probably a safe place to be. Waiting on the weekly SPX to head back above its 8-period moving. Okay. A couple more days and we'll be above that, John. Oh, that's so good, Tofi. Thank you. The warmth in my voice. Will J Powell save the market? That's a fantastic question. Who knows if he's going to save the market? I don't think he's going to save the market per se, but is he going to cut rates? Look, the inflation data that we got Wednesday and Thursday should have everybody here thinking the Fed now has a blank check to start cutting rates again. My question would be, should they, right? Does the government, or does the FOMC need to cut rates? They don't need to. Our data is not collapsing one way or the other. Plus, I think, you guys remember the analogy I made last week, or I've made it many times, where if you want to get better at trading, you find out what you're doing wrong and you change one thing. Again, we've got tariff wars, we've got taxation, we've got all sorts of different regulatory changes. The dust, it's still a sandstorm with regards to what's going on in our trading world right now in the U.S. Now you want to all of a sudden change rates and see what that impact has on us? I think the prudent thing to do would be just to stay until we see some really devastating signs of something happening, right? If inflation keeps dropping, then maybe in July or August they start to cut rates. But I thought the prudent thing to do is stay right there. So I don't think Jerome Powell's under any pressure from the market to save the day, because the market's not in that bad of shape. Is he under pressure from President Trump? Yes, right? We know he's pushing to lower rates as much as possible. So maybe he caves. When you look at the Fed funds futures here forecast for the markets, it actually started to tick back up a little bit in the last 24 hours, which I was surprised at. Let's go here and look at the December numbers for you. So we're now at 30%. So we have a 30% chance of 3 cuts. We have a 30% chance of 2 cuts. So 2 or 3 cuts seems to be the number right now for our markets, and that's kind of ticked back up a little bit here in the last 24 hours. But again, who the heck knows what's going to happen by the time December rolls around? It's just way too far, in my opinion, to try to forecast that. And again, for the long-term position traders here, your 401ks, your IRAs, this is tough. This is tough. All right, let's see what other comments we have here. I think there can be a short squeeze coming if we get another day rally, but I think there are more downside coming. Agreed. I don't know if it's necessarily a short squeeze. I haven't seen any statistics on a massive increase in shorting, but, I feel it's programmed. It does, the way we've sold off these last 3 weeks almost feels automated, like it's just consistent selling and selling and selling, and any rally seems to be getting crushed. So today was a good day. Kind of bummed we finished on a Friday like this. I'd like this to be like a Wednesday, so we have a couple days after a nice bull rally to maybe clear out some more upside potential, but we'll see. The weekend is always that big ultimate pause point for us when we have to digest. Marcus says, if you get put, I would just hold the Nvidia stock. Yeah, I know. I should have, but in that account, it's not about buying and holding. So for those who are new here, if you are new, hit the subscribe button. You can also hit the like button if you enjoy what we're talking about. In that account that Nvidia is in, it's the aggressive options account, but that's designed to be a premium collection. In there, it's not buy and hold it. It's buy and hold it, but sell premium against it. And I did it a little too close, I think, at the 115. I could have gone higher than that. I didn't think we were going to see as much of a bounce on Nvidia. But yes, I should have held it, but I always want to be selling calls against my positions. Ideally at a position that's far enough away where if I do want to hold it, I don't get rid of it. Like SMCI, I'm okay getting rid of it. The Nvidia and the Teslas, I'd rather hold those if I got put those. But yeah, I could have sold at a higher strike price. When you look at what Nvidia did, it had a pretty phenomenal bounce. You know, when I sold those was back here on Monday or Tuesday, we were down at like 106, 107. So when I was looking at the 115, I thought, we might rise a couple of bucks. I didn't think that we would rally, 14% from those lows. So yeah, it was my fault, but you're right. You're totally right, Margaret. And again, each account has to have an objective, or at least for me, each account has an objective. There's rules for it. And in that option, in that account, the ones I'm sharing with you on this program on a regular basis, it's a wheel strategy. So as soon as I put that, I'm selling calls against it. My strike was just a little too close this time, unfortunately. What would be a good steal play, or is it too late? I'm not that versed on steel, to be honest. The only one that I've ever really played has been U.S. Steel. Now, if you look at the chart of U.S. Steel, is there anything here that's really that exciting? Not really. I'm just going to extend that line out. And again, this is not a perfect trend line. It's certainly broken through this. But the gist of it is you're making lower highs on U.S. Steel. Now, who knows if Trump comes to some agreement with Nippon Steel and how their transaction works with U.S. Steel, if that gets all solidified. But at this point, it doesn't look that appealing to me. Even though the tariffs have been implemented for steel and for aluminum, even Alcoa is not benefiting from tariffs. The tariffs are designed to help these companies. More business coming to domestic production. Yeah, didn't see it. So unfortunately, I don't know the answer on that one, Steve. Or was it Steve? I'm sorry. It wasn't Steve. It was technician JD. Ramana says, they never heard of stop loss from Alzheimer's? No. Most people don't use stop losses. Most people don't know what stop losses are. They just buy and hold. Steve says I could roll them up and out. I could have. And trust me, I was at that point today. I'm like, should I just close it out and go for the higher ones? But, we'll see what happens Monday where we open up. I may just buy outright and sell calls against it because I do want to be, same with Tesla. I'll do at the money. It can be lower. Exactly. It's suppressing. It's Nvidia for God's For now, it's the King of Kings. For now, we'll see if things change along the way with Nvidia. And that, from a trade perspective, in that account, that's all I did. I did the futures trade today. Got the Tesla. Got the the MSTR. So let's go back to MicroStrategy. We'll talk about Bitcoin for a sec here. This chart looks pretty bad. Now, I'm going to omit. I know the real technicians in the room are going to be like, why would you do that? But let's draw this a couple different ways. That, to me, is not the trend for MicroStrategy just because it doesn't quite work. Hey, Shinobi. Hope you're doing good over there, Brian. It's late at night for you over there in the UK. If we look at the from here. Oh, come on. Why is this not bringing it down? Let's just go body to body. And you can kind of see right through here. That trend does feel to be loosely in place, which it's not the trend line I'm interested in. It's the understanding there's a general trend here, which is lower lows and lower highs on MicroStrategy, which, fine, it is what it is. What we also have to recognize is you have this bottom put in on MicroStrategy right around 232. All right, so now it feels like you're kind of between this range. Mind you, it's a 90-point range between 232 and 320. So for me to look at what's going on with MicroStrategy, again, I'm long. I have 600 long right now on MicroStrategy, so today was obviously a very good day. When you look at where to sell those calls against your position, this gets a little bit tough, right? So for me, my initial, I think I told you I had a 352, I had a 350, and then I got a few 320s was the initial. So 400 of it's at 320, and then so overall I'm down on the exercise price, but I've been collecting premium for a while, and the premium's been pretty good. So I'm pretty close. I think I'm a couple grand under right now. Not bad. So I did today sell the 350 strikes. Now, I do believe that you're going to see over the weekend Bitcoin move up. And the reason is just technical. Let's go look at the chart of Bitcoin here to help explain that. We have seen an aggressive sell-off in Bitcoin. And you can see the fear setting in here when you got these 3 just gigantic red candles in a row, followed by another 4 gigantic red candles in a row. And we've come down to that lower level, which we literally tiptoed into, which is 76,600. We literally crossed over by a couple of dollars in that demand zone. And now it feels like at least you have a little bit of stability. if it was in that panic mode again, it would have sold off. Today, a nice rally. We came back above the highs for the week. Now the question is, where do we end up? And it feels like you went into the weekend with some positive momentum. Okay? Positive momentum for the week. Ideally, what I think will happen is we'll probably gap up on, the futures will gap up on Sunday night because tomorrow and Sunday day, the spot market will continue to move up and drift higher. And then I think we'll get another little run put in and probably challenge that 90 mark. So that's why I sold the 350s on MicroStrategy, because I do think you're going to see Bitcoin rally back up to that 90,000 mark next week. And based off that, that should put MicroStrategy back around that 350 mark, and therefore should keep me out from executing on those calls. So that's the MicroStrategy plan I have right now. Still pretty ugly and wild swings. And again, for anybody who's touching MicroStrategy, be very careful because the premium on this thing is super enticing, but it's a wild beast, an absolute beast. I went at 305 as well. So the 305 is in there. End of the month is going to be interesting with the options expiries. Yes, especially because now you have so many different DeFi options places. The more DeFi sites we have, like Deribit and Pancake Swap futures and all these different options, I'm curious to see what the impact is from all these new options markets that are outside the traditional system. Right? Does that impact it? Is there manipulation that goes on there? Time will tell, but that's going to be an interesting one. MX5, I have 340,000. Okay. Cool. Yes, I'm born in the okay. Sorry, I'm just reading through the chat there. Just reading through your chat. So, of the trades that I share here with you guys, that account actually had a really good week. Obviously, last week was pretty ugly, but the volatility on MicroStrategy is just causing those premiums to be just off the charts. So, pretty happy about that with the premium I'm receiving on an MSTR. I think I sold the 350s today for I think it was $275. It was a lot. Maybe not 275. I have to go look at the account. It's not here with me today, but I'm not touching MicroStrategy. Yep, I do like IBIT, Mara, Hut, good premiums for low price stocks. I would be more inclined to stay with IBIT, Marathon, and Hut. We had that comment yesterday from a viewer who was asking about buying into mining companies, and I just think there's too many unknowns. Too many unknowns with the miners. I think at any moment you could be caught with a huge gap down or some big regulatory change that shuts down the mining companies in certain states and energy requirements and cost goes up. I don't know. To that end, Steve, you could also argue that, if we start doing more exploration for energy and we create more energy, then the cost of energy will drop and therefore the profits for the miners will increase, right? There's your devil's advocate. I know, Shinobi, the markets are not manipulated at all. So let me run through our top 8 here, and then we'll wrap it up. I'm going to shorter show today. What's your advisable level to buy Bitcoin for long term? Now. I'm a believer that you're going to look back in not in a month, but if you look back in a few years, you go, man, why didn't I buy it at 84? What the hell was wrong with me? Why didn't I buy it at 84? I certainly don't think you're getting back down anywhere into these lows in the 50s, 60s. I think that's done. I think that's a thing of the past. And again, I may be mistaken, but there's just way too many regulatory obstacles that have been removed and are now pro-Bitcoin, specifically Bitcoin, certainly with the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. And yesterday, Michael Saylor was speaking with Senator Lummis about the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. If that bill goes through, I don't think you'll ever see these levels again. I think we're sitting at significant lows. You look at this chart here, and I did have these levels mapped out as kind of major turning points. The one that we just turned at, the top of that zone was 76,622, and on Tuesday, we tiptoed into that by $22. We went right into that zone by $22, and it's ripped out of it. And my guess is, I'm going out on a limb here, my guess is we're not going to see it hit this yellow box again. It's now, this will be done. I'll put it on here just to see how incorrect I am, and I'll get some hate from people on this one. Let me put a little text on here, and I'm going to write, we will never hit this level again. And then today is what, 3/4, it's Pi Day. There you go. I'm going to put that right down here. Come on. I'll put that right in that. There you go. That's my take on it. And that's just based off all of the the positive economic factors, the political stuff, the adoption, the utilization. More countries are starting to use it. So there we go. Wasn't that the CME gap? I'm not sure. No, this is the spot price. This is the spot price. So this isn't anything to do with the futures or CME. Lloyd says, don't you think Bitcoin will go lower when it sells off in the fall? No. Nope. Remember, what was my target? So let's go back to speculation here and go to what was my initial target. My target is still on the screen here, but let me just go out here and show you. I made this forecast last year where I said I think that Bitcoin will get to 250 by November. Okay, so there's our chart, and there's 250. Now, when it rallies, so by the way, just in case you want to know what the number is, for us to get to that 250,000 mark, that's a 200% gain from current levels. 200%. 250, right? So if we got up to that, the historic number, and again, I'm just going off of historical data. That's all I can do is look at the past and see, can I get clues from that? Typically, it drops between 70 and 80%. So if it did fall, let's go, how much did I put on here? Since it's 70 to 80, let's go 75. Oh, you might be right. You might be right, Margaret. Or sorry, you might be right, Lori. If it does fall 70%, then it does bring it to 62. I stand corrected. Tell you what, Margaret, if cool, no problem, Questlog. If that happens, Margaret, we'll buy you a nice dinner because I will have sold out at 250. 250 is the target for this run where I'll close out my Bitcoin. And I'm fingers crossed optimistic that President Trump will follow through on his talk track of I'm going to remove taxes on cryptocurrency, capital gains taxes on cryptocurrency. That would just make my year, make my decade, because I've had this for a long time. I will sell, again, if we get to 250, I will, and they pass some law that says no capital gains tax on crypto, I'll sell every piece of crypto I have and buy it right back. Now, if I have Bitcoin at $70 by the end of the year. $70, Jeff. Love it. Exactly, and I'll get back in at 64. So we'll see. If it gets to 250, that's my out point. I've had that as my number for a while. So if it gets to 250, I will dump everything, not just my Bitcoin, but my Ethereum, our Cardano, all of it will get dumped. Regardless of if President Trump passes that no capital gains tax. I really hope he does because that would just save me a lot of money. But then I'll just sit in the sidelines for a while. I'm actually short the market. I may go out to leverage sites and short futures and short this. I don't think it's going to fall the 70%. I don't think that's going to happen this time. But I do think there could be a big correction. Not sure, JB, on the wash sale. I have trader status, so that's never been an issue for me, but that may be an issue. I'm not sure. I don't know if there's a wash sale on crypto or not. Okay, Jeff. 70, I'm all right with that. When you said $70, I was like, man, I'll take that bet all day, buddy. All day. Y'all be careful. Don't get ridiculed and kicked out like Zelensky. No. That'll be fine. I think Bitcoin will rally to 150K max by the end of this year. Well, we have a whole list, and again, I think it's funny when we look at our list. Let me bring it up here for you guys just so you can kind of see. I do this every year where I have everybody speculate their thoughts on what the S&P might be by the end of the year. And we've added on Bitcoin. And, we've got Mark Jansen got the biggest. He thinks it's going to be at 300,000 by the end of the year. I think we're going to hit 250 this year, but I think we're going to pull back. Where's my number on this one? We're going to have an up year, and I put by end of year. I have 169.50, which would be an 80% increase for the year. So I think we're going to have a big rally up and then come back down. There you go. I have a number in my head for where I'm expecting my portfolio to be at, and then you're going to dump it, right, Shinobi? So most people bullish. There are a few out here. I think, Jeff's got 70K on here, which would be a 25% slide. And there are some people that are way down on this list. I'm not sure why this number looks different. Let's get Ben on here. These are people who have not. So I've got multiple in here. So Farm Bees, Dwight Freeney, Daryl Kimbrough, and PBJ. I didn't get your forecast for Bitcoin down for the year, or Bitcoin for the year. And Ben Farad, I'm not going to honor the second one because you said 29,000. And then you also had a number where you were like 170,000. So you're all over the place. But the first one was the one I'm taking, which is 170K. So Shinobi says, I think 180K is the top for the year. Okay. Yeah, we'll dump most of expect for Bitcoin. Yeah, that's the thought. And I think we have a different situation here, Brian. You're in the UK. And obviously, if there's no capital gains taxes on it in the UK, I would sell mine. Like, for example, let's say that Trump came out and said, no capital gains tax on your crypto. I would log into my account today. I'd transfer everything over to one of the big exchanges. I would sell all of it, 100% of it. I'd buy it right back to move my cost basis up to the current price. That way they couldn't get them for capital gains tax in the future should they change the rule. The more Bitcoin one owns, the higher they predict. That's true. That might be true. I'm on the list. Yeah, Robert, you're on the list, right? You had 150. Let me go make sure you're on the list. There you you're not on the list, Robert. Oh, you're up here, 156. Is this you, Robert? 156? If not, I'll throw you on the list. Okay. Let me go back to here. And yeah, so you were absolutely right. For some reason, I didn't think that 80% would have brought us back down to those levels. But yeah, it does bring it back down to about 62K on this one. Let's see. Yes, there is capital gains tax. It's gone up with the new clowns that get voted in last year. And that's the thing. It can change from administration to administration. So if all of a sudden you get some favorable taxation, take advantage of it quickly. Therefore, when the rules change, you're okay. NJ, you're already on here, right? What about Cardano? So, Chloe, let's look at Cardano. So I know Cardano's an oddball one in the industry. It's the love-hate relationship, right? It's the one that everybody hates. Not everybody, but most people hate Cardano. And I don't get why all the hate. I'm a fan of Charles Hoskinson. Some people think he's a scammer. I don't believe he's a scammer. I think he's actually a very smart individual. He's very bright. He's connected in the industry. I think he wants to do good. If you look at the projects he's doing outside of crypto, he's trying to help and to build communities. He's doing healthcare in, where is it, Colorado. He's got this little healthcare company. I think he's trying to do good things. Is everybody perfect? No. People call Cardano vaporware, meaning doesn't do anything, it's got no purpose. I disagree. There's a whole community on Cardano. They have a completely different technology stack than some of the other cryptocurrencies. They also use UTXO, which is the transactional medium for Bitcoin, which could potentially allow Cardano to host Bitcoin trades natively on its blockchain. That would be no one else could say that. You look at the price of it, it had a huge run from the election, and Charles Hoskinson has been rubbing elbows with a lot of people on Capitol Hill. Now, he was not invited to the conference last Friday, which, excuse me, that kind of bothers me that he wasn't invited to that, because I think he has a lot of great input. That said, I'm bullish on Cardano. I was talking to a friend today about potentially, he's like, oh, what should we add to your portfolio? I'm like, look, if I had to add positions to a portfolio today for crypto, depending on capital allocations, I would probably be adding Cardano. I would be adding probably Near Protocol. I would probably be adding some more to my Solana position, and I would probably be adding some SWI. Now, that all is said outside of Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin, of course, is to me the king of kings. So having all that stuff would be areas where I'd be interested in. And Near Protocol, Cardano, and SWI are all layer 1 blockchains. All layer 1s. Layer 1 blockchains are the foundation for ecosystems. Now, out of those ones I've mentioned, Near Protocol, Cardano, SWI, hell, you could even throw Ethereum, Avalanche. The only one in there that's ISO 20022 compliant is Cardano. Now, ISO 20022 compliance means you can be an international money transmitter, digital money transmitter. So, SWI can't do that. Solana can't do that. Cardano can. And that puts it in direct competition with companies like Ripple, because they're compliant. Stellar Lumens is another one. IOTA is another one. Hedera Hashgraph. These are all technologies that meet the protocols set by the government to be money transmitters. That's a huge advantage. Plus, in gaming tests, Cardano has used a system called Hydra, which basically breaks up their chain into multiple pieces. It fragments it, essentially. and allows them to do much more transactions. They recently did a test and they did over 1 million transactions per second. Now, I don't know all the technical data there because 1 million TPS is crazy. When you look at something like Solana is doing 65,000 transactions per second, or Sui doing 100,000, 1 million, crazy. Link should also be on there. I agree with that, Joe. I think oracles are critical. I think, I think big time. Oh, now we went on the crypto rabbit hole. Here we go. We're going to do a short show today, and you got to start with the crypto talk. Chase asked about Arbitrum. I hate to say it, I'm not a fan of Arbitrum. I'm not a fan of layer 2s. So for those that don't understand, a layer 1 is your base layer blockchain. That's like Ethereum, Cardano, Avalanche, Polkadot. Those are layer 1s. That's where all the transactions happen. But in some cases, like Ethereum is rather slow. Ethereum does about 13 transactions per second. Nothing compared to some of these newer networks. So you have Arbitrum, you have Optimism, Matic. Those are layer 2s. They're built on top. They use that base layer network, but you now can do faster, more transactions, much cheaper on their network. Look, if Ethereum is the base layer and Arbitrum's on top of that, it's a layer 2 for Ethereum. If Ethereum fixes their scalability and gets to the point where they're doing 1,000 TPS, you don't need Arbitrum anymore. So I think it's a matter of time where a lot of layer 2s will just disappear unless they change their model, as Matic has, right? Matic has changed quite a bit. Chloe says, Polkadot's a layer 1 too. What's your opinion? I have a lot of Polkadot, but I bought it back 2017 and 18. Look, Polkadot, Gavin Wood is phenomenal, right? He's one of the brightest minds in the industry, and he started Polkadot. However, what Polkadot has is great technology. What they don't have is marketing. They're stupid. They should have done so much more with marketing. So I think when you look at attracting developers and people to build on the Polkadot ecosystem, they have failed. A big capital F failure to bring in developers and create buzz for their ecosystem. So I still hold my Polkadot. I stake it, and I will continue to stake it until maybe the end of this year. But I wouldn't be adding any more Polkadot to my portfolio. They have a unique model, which I won't go in depth here, but I do like it. It's just, I make this analogy all the time. If you have a favorite restaurant and nobody eats there, it's going to go out of business. So they need more adoption, more people to use it. What did Big Eb say? He caught that about 4 years ago. Yeah. Excuse me. Marine, allergic to short shows? Yes, I am. I'm hyper allergic to short shows. I thought today would be a 30-minute show too. I was like, almost made it. Oh, good. I hope there's more Chinese investors in DOT. Yeah, I stake mine on my ledger. I'm fine getting 14% per year. I started initially. I staked 1,776 Polkadot 2 years back, and now I'm at 3,700. I've doubled my position size just from staking, so great, and it's compounding, so go. What else do you guys have here? Yes, gaming is going to be a big use case for crypto. There's a lot of tokens. AVAX is one of the bigger ecosystems for that. Yep, AVAX is pretty big for it. I'd be interested to see how Cardano pushes this, because Cardano with Hydra is actually way faster than AVAX. Per their gaming marathon, they just did a big test on, which is pretty cool. What else I got here? Base might be an outlier on that L2 front, though. Yes. I think Base will ultimately become their own chain. And I do like Sonic. I'm a fan of Sonic. Yep. Pyth. Yes, I like Pyth, but remember, Pyth is dedicated specifically to the Solana ecosystem. So if you like a specific layer 1 blockchain, let's say it's Cardano or let's say it's Solana, then you want to find out the components that are native to that one. So yes, if you're looking for an oracle on Solana, Pyth would be a great choice and fairly cheap if I remember correctly. Margaret says, is there gaming use? Massive gaming use. There's tons of different ecosystems like Decentraland, Star Atlas, Sandbox, and hundreds of other games being built on blockchain right now. And the question is, which one do they go to? Would you want to build your game on Ethereum, which has really expensive transactions and can get slowed down? Or would you want to build on something like Solana, which can do 65,000 transactions per second very cheaply? Right, that's kind of identifying, excuse me, where money will flow in these different ecosystems, right? Where's it going to go? So that's why in building a portfolio for anyone who's new to crypto, I think it's really important that you look at what the blockchains are, what's their specialty, right? Where are they trying to be the leader in? And then what businesses will gravitate towards those networks. When do you stop staking before you sell full this year? So, Flui, with Polkadot, you have 28 days before you can unstake your crypto. I think it's 21 or 28 days. I forget which one. On Polkadot. So it'd be a month before. So you guys know my belief is I will probably start to sell right around September, October. If the chart patterns are correct with the 4-year cycle, November will be when we start to have the collapse again. So I'd want to do it obviously way before that. So probably getting into August, I would assume, is when I would unstake my crypto, at least my Polkadot, which would give me that 21 or 20, I think it's 28 days for Polkadot to get that unstaked, and then I could move it over and sell it. All right, Sandbox is used with Meta and their virtual real estate NFTs, and a lot of these ones do, Jeff. You know, Decentraland was as well. I was actually trying to get Trading Academy to buy a space in the metaverse in Decentraland and build a business front and have just a little place where people can go in and learn to trade in that little virtual world. And they were like, oh, no, we don't want to do that. I'm like, just got to think outside the box, right? I personally am not a metaverse fan. I'd rather go outside and explore the outdoors than sit there in a virtual world, but different strokes for different folks, right? Should I get rid of my Ethereum and buy something else? Seems to be falling behind. That's a tough one, Steve. It's my second largest position, and my love of Ethereum has declined significantly. There seems to be a little bit of contentious behavior with the people at the top, so not a huge fan of what's going on with Ethereum, unfortunately. So could there be better performers? Yes. If you look at the trend on Ethereum, it ain't good. You know, Ethereum off of its peak, which was just a little bit ago, we are to where we are today. Ethereum's down 52%. Now, let's be fair, most of crypto is down 52%. I don't like that we've kind of ripped through this little demand zone I've drawn on here. We respected it once and now gone through it. So, you know, you could see Ethereum down to 1,500 here soon. I'm still holding. I think that what we're going to get is an overall rally in crypto as an entire ecosystem once we get more clarity with regards to the rules for crypto. Now, I'll be honest, I'm pretty shocked at the way this market has sold off over the past 2 months. Did not expect to see such significant declines in crypto in that short window of time. I thought we'd have a pullback and then start to trend back up, but you know, I mean, I could be totally wrong. Bitcoin obviously looking one of the stronger ones out there, but a lot of these cryptos. So let's go to Sui. I'm gonna have to wrap up here before my throat just dies on me. You know, Solana, from its peak, Solana down over 50% as well. There's 57%. So a lot of opportunities out there. I'll do the same for my Cosmo ecosystem tokens. Yep. Cosmo, I think, is 21 days. I don't think it's anything to worry about for now. Dawnfront on virtual real estate next to Snoop Dogg. Funny. Yeah, you know, right now that property is going for cheap. Cheap. Ethan's always been like Robin to Batman, never owned it. Yeah, look, if they made the changes, if they modified their chain, so they went from proof of work to proof of stake, which is an unbelievable change. Like, how did you do that, but you can't increase your scalability? So if Ethereum can do the 2 upgrades they want to make to their system, number 1 is called zero knowledge proofs, ZK rollups. If that happens, Ethereum will go from about 13 to 15 transactions per second to 1,500 transactions per second. The second upgrade is called sharding, sharding. That's where you fragment the chain and you have each channel processing different transactions. That gives them another 100x, which means that Ethereum could theoretically be at 150,000 transactions per second, and then they would dominate. But they haven't been able to do it. It drives me nuts. I'm surprised Ethereum has never interested you. It's the groundbreaking technology that's created the entire world of DeFi. This whole idea of DeFi really revolves around Ethereum. And they have, right now, still the largest market. They're losing it every day because they're not advancing, but, we'll see. Hopefully they'll make some changes here. All right, let me go to your economic calendar for Monday. You really have nothing going on Monday from an economic perspective. Let me bring this one up for you guys here. The 17th. We have retail sales. We have retail sales going on Monday. On the earnings front, there's nothing going on, so I'm going to wrap up the show before I get to an hour show. We're already at 56 minutes. Chloe says, could that be that they intentionally want to only focus on institutions? Therefore, nah. They keep their fees high for, it's for a security measurement. They don't want people to attack the network because it's easy to, you could shut down Ethereum very quickly if you had very low fees, like Solana. Like you could crash Solana purposely. I could go and purposely force Solana to crash, but I don't have that kind of money. Now, if Ethereum got to 150,000 transactions per second, you couldn't do a denial of service. You couldn't spam the network and shut it down, which is why they should have more incentive to speed things up, their development. Todd, see you, Todd. Hoping to catch you in live feed, but it just said Tem called away at $46. What do you think about this chart strength on this one? All right, last one. I'm gonna bounce because obviously my throat's going out. Ooh, boy. Don't know about Tempest AI. Again, what makes me nervous about this, real quick, Todd, they put AI in their name. For me, this was a kiss of death back in the .com era. When someone put .com on their name, that was like the kiss of death. Because they probably didn't even have a .com product, but they just tried to capitalize on the .com's hype. Here is Tempest AI, down 48%. If you looked at them as a company and you like their products and services and you believe what they did, then I would assume that this would probably be a decent buy point. But I have no idea what this company does. I've never heard of them before. Are they fairly illiquid? They picked up some volume recently, so they've got definitely some good volume here. I don't. Let's see. You said it got called away at $46. Cool. I don't think it's. It doesn't look like it's poised for a rally, right? We had one update, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. Now, if it starts to break some highs, or as you saw here in the chat, if it fills that gap that goes all the way back to here, then that might be an opportunity as well. So I would look at those two as two different buy points. Healthcare? All right, I told you I'm not going to do an hour show, and we're at 58 minutes, so I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks, guys. I appreciate all the comments. Love the way we kind of flowed organically today. If there's something that you would like me to discuss on Monday's show, email me, tradermerlin@gmail.com. It's on your screen right there. I hope you guys all have a fantastic weekend. Go do something fun. I will continue drinking my hot tea to fix my throat, and I'll hopefully be back to normal by Monday. So have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you on Monday. Take care.